Snow fell softly over New York City on Christmas Eve. The streets glittered under golden streetlights, couples walked hand in hand, and families laughed as they carried gifts home. Inside a bustling coffee shop, a man in a perfectly tailored black suit sat alone by the window, staring out at the happy world he didn't belong to. His name was Alexander Reid, a billionaire CEO who owned half the skyline, but tonight, he felt like the poorest man in the city. He had no family to go home to. No warmth to return to. And then, a small voice broke through the noise. "Excuse me, mister?" He turned his head and saw a little girl, no more than 6 years old, standing beside his table. Her cheeks were red from the cold, her coat too big for her small frame. She clutched a worn-out teddy bear in one hand, and in the other, a folded piece of paper. "Can you be my daddy for one night?" she asked. Alexander's breath caught. He had faced ruthless boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, but nothing had ever left him speechless like this. Chapter 1: The Stranger in the Coffee Shop. Alexander blinked, trying to process her words. "Why would you ask me that?" he asked gently. The girl looked down. "Mommy says Santa doesn't have time for grown-ups. But maybe you do. She says daddies tell stories, eat cookies, and tuck kids in on Christmas. I don't have one. Mommy says he's in heaven. But I just wanted to know what it feels like." Her voice trembled, but she wasn't begging. She was simply hoping. Before Alexander could speak, a woman rushed into the coffee shop, breathless, worried, and beautiful in a way that made the whole room fade away. She had long dark hair tied loosely, her coat slightly torn, and eyes that carried both exhaustion and fire. "Lily," she exclaimed, kneeling beside the girl. "You can't just run off like that." The little girl, Lily, smiled sheepishly. "I found him, Mommy. He's perfect." Alexander was still frozen, but the woman turned to him. "I'm so sorry, she's been through a lot this year. We both have." Chapter 2: A Past That Hurts. Her name was Emily Carter, and life had not been kind lately. Her husband, a firefighter, had died saving a family from a burning building 2 years ago. Since then, she had been working double shifts as a nurse, barely making rent, and trying to keep Christmas magic alive for her daughter. Alexander listened quietly as she spoke, noticing how she avoided pity. She wasn't asking for help. She was just surviving. Something about Emily's voice, her strength, and the way Lily clung to her, it stirred something in him. Something he thought was gone forever. Years ago, Alexander had been a different man. Before the corporate empire, before the empty penthouse, he'd had dreams of a family. But a bitter betrayal and a tragic miscarriage had destroyed his engagement, and he'd buried himself in work ever since. Tonight, however, the walls he'd built began to crack. Chapter 3: The Offer. When Emily and Lily stood to leave, Lily tugged Alexander's sleeve again. "Please. Just for tonight? Mommy says we'll be alone again, and I don't want her to be sad." Emily began to apologize, but Alexander surprised himself. "Where do you live?" he asked. An hour later, he was standing at the door of their tiny apartment, a place so small, the Christmas tree leaned slightly against the wall, decorated with paper snowflakes and candy canes. Yet it felt warmer than his entire mansion. They shared hot chocolate, laughed over silly Christmas movies, and for the first time in years, Alexander read a bedtime story, the night before Christmas, with Lily nestled under a blanket, eyes wide with wonder. Before she fell asleep, Lily whispered, "You're the best daddy I ever had." And it broke him. Chapter 4: A Christmas Morning Like No Other. He didn't leave that night. Emily offered him the couch, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he stayed. In the morning, the smell of pancakes filled the air. Lily squealed with joy over a small gift Alexander had bought on his way over, a new teddy bear with a red ribbon. Emily noticed the kindness behind his eyes. But she also knew men like him didn't stay. They had their own worlds, far away from women like her. Except Alexander didn't want to leave. Chapter 5: The Battle Within. Over the next few weeks, Alexander found himself drawn to their lives. He fixed the broken window latch, stocked their fridge, and even attended Lily's school play. But not everyone approved. The press discovered his visits. His board of directors warned him, "This could damage your image." His ex-fiancée appeared out of nowhere, reminding him of the scandal years ago. And Emily, she began to fear the fairy tale would end. One night, she confronted him. "Why are you here, Alexander? Is this guilt? Charity? Because if it is, we don't need it." He stared at her, hurt. "I'm here because for the first time in years, I feel alive. You and Lily, you've given me something I thought I lost forever." Chapter 6: The Christmas Eve Decision. A year later, Christmas Eve came again. This time, Alexander wasn't alone in a coffee shop. He stood outside Emily's apartment with a small velvet box in his pocket, his heart pounding. Inside, Lily was hanging ornaments on a new, taller tree. Emily was in the kitchen, humming softly. When she saw him, her eyes widened. "You came." "I'm not here for one night this time," he said, his voice steady. "I'm here, for the rest of my life." He knelt, first in front of Lily. "Last year, you asked me to be your daddy for one night. If it's okay with you, I'd like to be your daddy forever." Lily threw her arms around him, tears in her eyes. "Yes. Yes." Then he turned to Emily, holding out the ring. "And I'd like to be your husband, if you'll have me." Her answer was in the way she kissed him, a kiss full of all the love, trust, and hope they had built together. Ending, the message. That Christmas, Alexander Reid learned that love wasn't found in boardrooms or bank accounts. It was found in the laughter of a child, the strength of a woman who never gave up, and the courage to open your heart again. Because sometimes, the family you're meant to have finds you in the most unexpected way.